What a beautiful ball. Now it's Cristiano Ronaldo with a chance maybe to seal it, and he has taken it. Lahm in all kinds of space. Lahm, Muller through Muller, could be embarrassing. It's three. Tony Kroos. Olivier Giroud. Barkley's found Klein with a speedy burst, and that's terrific from Vardy. Oh, what a goal by Jamie Vardy.
Hello and welcome back to #TFHP Euros. It's the Football Hipsters podcast. I am your host Kris, and tonight I'm joined by John. Good evening, John.
Good evening.
And Tom. Good evening, Tom.
What's up?
So we are back in your ears once again for the first of 4 quarterfinals. And tonight we saw Poland and we saw Portugal, all the P's. Now, let's just basically get your thoughts initially then. It's just the one game for us to chew on tonight, guys. So, Tom, I'll start with you. What was your thoughts? Portugal prevailing 5-4 on penalties after a 1-1 draw in normal and extra time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a particularly enjoyable match from my perspective. It was a game of really where if you're a kid, it's not going to teach you how to finish off your chances. Basically, and plenty of chances came to Ronaldo, the main man. I was always going to have to focus on him. Lewandowski, obviously getting the early goal, which probably would have knocked Ronaldo's confidence a bit, seeing his star counterpart knocking in quite early on in the match. Krzyzewski was the one who set it up, I believe, and he's been probably the most underrated player of the tournament for Poland. And after he set up the goal, he had a pretty quiet match. It was more left to the side of Blaszczykowski and the like to move forward with the ball. Milik was quite quiet as well, a few chances, but again not really taking him. As Drew's a big fan of Milik, and he stressed going into the tournament that he would bring something to their side. But after the goal he scored against the Irish, he's missed quite a couple of chances and still yet to impress me. But I'm sure he does have the talent, and he'll move on in his career with whatever he does next at Ajax or whatever. But in terms of Portugal going on to win it, Renato Sanches, what looked like an amazing goal to start off with, but turns out to be a deflection. Was it off Krakowiak?
Yes.
Yes, and that took it past Fabianski, and then second half was just a bit cagey. It was a bit more like there was chances created, but both teams didn't really seem they wanted to more in depth of not losing it than going out to win the match, and that was definitely the case in extra time, even more in an emphasised sense, and went to penalties, which I enjoyed because I always enjoy penalty shootouts when my team's not involved. And and you got to say, when Renato Sanches steps up, the youngest player on the pitch, and smashes in a penalty like that, he's not got a problem with confidence. So very impressive. And then Quaresma wins it. So I think he's won the last 2 matches for them, and Portugal go on to not win a game in 90 minutes for the entire tournament, and they're in the semi-final. So quite incredible.
Yeah, I want to pick up on that actually, John. That's Tom's mentioned there. No win in any of their games in 90 minutes at all, and yet they find themselves in the semi-final to play Belgium or Wales. They will be quietly fancying this all of a sudden, do you think?
Yeah, because they haven't really performed amazing stuff yet. They were impressive, obviously, at least going forwards in terms of resilience in the Croatia game, and the fact that they kept coming back into it. It was the Croatia game, wasn't it? 3-3? Was that the one?
Hungary.
Hungary, sorry, yeah.
Croatia was the really dull, terrible one to pull your eyes out.
I knew it was while I watched too much football. But yeah, I thought they showed really good resilience in that. But tonight they were... Again, they started slowly. Obviously, Poland got a very early goal and looked comfortable, but they came back into it and they looked like, okay, they're going to press a bit more and looked like something was going to happen. But still, it hasn't really happened for Ronaldo yet. Like Tom said, he had a few chances tonight. They weren't easy chances, but you would expect that. Like, he didn't even connect with the ball cleanly or anything like that. So you'd expect him to at least hit the target. The rest of the team is still doing okay. João Mario's been a little bit disappointing for me. I thought he might be one who'd shine a bit more, but hasn't quite done it. Probably their best players have been sort of, William Carvalho, without being stunning in midfield, but he's been good in ticking the ball over. So that will be a big loss for them because he got yellow carded and will miss the next game. Renato Sanches, who we'd been asking for to start the game, started tonight and was really good. I thought a couple of decisions I think he made wrong, but I think that's just an age thing. Obviously, he got the goal, got a little bit of luck with the deflection, but he was always trying to make something happen and always trying to drive them forwards. Poland were, decent. They have been throughout the tournament. But I thought the link-up between Milik and Lewandowski wasn't quite working again. Milik had a couple of good opportunities where he could have played someone in and didn't. Again, maybe you're making the wrong decision, taking a shot himself instead of putting someone else through. But decent game. I don't, whoever wins out the Belgium-Wales game, they won't fancy playing Portugal, because if a team hasn't really clicked and you've got this far in the tournament, if they start bringing it together in the semi-final, it's the perfect time, because you've only got 2 games left. They get the extra day's rest. I know they had the extra time, but they do have that in their favour as well. So still worries me at the back a little bit, but yeah, if they can just get Ronaldo to get a goal in regular time, then I think it'll all come together for him, and whoever they play won't look forward to it.
No. I want to actually touch on Ronaldo for a minute, because obviously we've only got the one game to cover tonight, as well as a bit of a preview tomorrow. So we'll spend a bit of time on some individuals during this discussion. And Tom, obviously Cristiano Ronaldo is a player you've seen a lot of in the last 12, 18 months, and of course the world watches him whenever he's there. Almost feels like the Ronaldo plus Portugal every week. But he, to me, looks like a player who's not fit, not at his peak form, is almost playing on sort of hunger and desire alone, and that sort of shows the petulance he's had in games, and the missed kicks like John mentioned tonight. I mean, Ronaldo, even 6 months ago, doesn't miss that chance tonight coming over his shoulder. Do you think that he will be able to peak in time for a semi-final or the final, like John says, or do you think that even if Portugal end up winning this, it will be with him, not because of him?
Well, I think the problem stems most likely from the Champions League final. As we all know, he wasn't match fit to play in that game, and obviously he still played the entire match, and that's probably not been the best lead up going into an international tournament. And as you say, he's definitely not been on his peak form. In terms of whether he's going to solve the issue, for me, he's just too good of a player not to eventually find the form and find the quality that we all know he has. Scoring that penalty in the shootout and being first to take up and leading the team forwards is probably the biggest leadership aspect he's had as a captain of Portugal. Finally stepping up, because I remember there was a few years ago in the tournament where he didn't get to take one because they already went out. I think it was in Kiev when it happened, and obviously that's made him change his mind to want to go first. It's not that I don't think that his form's been awful, because obviously he scored the 2 goals in the Hungary game, and he showed with that deft flick, which was probably nearly up there with Shaqiri's goal of the tournament, just the improvised flick he did. But I think that he just needs to get out of his head that all this pressure of a country is on his shoulders, especially in the team he's got now. Because if you think about it, with the likes of Andre Gomez and Renato Sanches and even Quaresma tonight stepped up a bit more. He's got quality around him much more than they used to. So I think he needs to just get the idea out of his head that literally everything is on him. He now has the quality around him to support him. And I think just mentally wise, that should help him recover and pick up some better form.
He certainly, he just something doesn't quite look right at the moment. I wonder if maybe, just maybe, the age is catching up as well, because he's certainly getting on for a player of his level. John, just on the sort of Poland, there's a couple of individuals I've picked out here. You'll know quite a lot about Kamil Glik, who's been a stand-up performer, and despite what the ITV coverage said tonight, he plays for Torino, not Empoli. Well done, ITV, done your research, good job. But there was a few others that I would expect to maybe be looking for new clubs at the end of this tournament. Michael Pazdan, the centre back, or Mikhail Pazdan, playing for Legia Warsaw at the moment. Artur, your favourite, Artur Jędrzejczyk, the fullback, also at Legia Warsaw at the moment. And of course the young lad Bartosz Kapustka, who's playing for Krakow. So that one you've had a few pints. John, do you reckon that Serie A and Italy is a good destination for a couple of these polls, based on what you've seen from Glik, for example, and indeed Blaszczykowski at Fiorentina?
Yeah, I mean, Blaszczykowski didn't really quite pan out for him at Fiorentina. He had a few good games, but it just wasn't really working. I think he had some injury problems and he was struggling to maintain fitness. Glik had a very good season for Torino, but I wasn't 100% sold on him, like for sort of a Champions League level club. He's now, I think it's been reported he's going to Monaco. Is that right? Or is he signed? Yeah.
Yep, done deal, yeah.
I completely missed that. Yeah, you see, I've been keeping up to date with everything. But yeah, this tournament in particular, he really impressed me. Looks more than comfortable to make that step up, so it might just be more his surroundings at Torino. As for the other two in the back four that you mentioned, like Pazdan in particular, it was very impressive tonight, making some very good last-ditch challenges. People like that in Syria. There is a tendency for a lot of players actually from that region of Europe and the further eastern reaches of Europe as well to come into Syria. So there's quite a history of that already. So it wouldn't surprise me. The young kid, I'm not sure quite yet. I mean, I saw some good flashes for him, but also saw like a couple of stupid little petulant things. Again, age, you can kind of put that too. I think they said he got booked in, I think that's 3 yellow cards he's had in the tournament. He'd already served one suspension, which is pretty impressive. But no, they're a decent outfit, Poland. Creatively, I still think they struggled a little bit. I would have liked to have seen Zielinski get more of a chance. I like Milik. I understand why Drew backs him, but I just didn't think it was working out. And I think an extra man in midfield who could maybe run beyond Lewandowski sometimes might have worked a little bit better, and just to help them keep the ball a little bit, because it's the one thing they did struggle with.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And seeing Zielinski, he's at Empoli as well, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Is it Empoli? Yes, I mean, and he looked decent.
Well, he's at the moment. He's been linked all over the place. I think he'll be going.
One of those that could end up being owned by about 8 different Italian clubs. That's usually how it works, isn't it? Former Udinese man as well. But Tom, just we'll both have a go at this, both John and yourself. Let's talk about the boy in midfield for Portugal, and that boy being Renato Sanches. He is just a boy, really, but physically. He reminds me of, here's an old reference. Anyone remember Gladiators?
Yes.
Iffy.
Popular ITV UK show, Saracen. That's who he reminds me of. Look it up, people. Just Google it.
Okay.
But trust
was
me.
Google invented when it was on?
I don't think it was.
The internet was around, but no, it wasn't good. I think it was. We probably used Yahoo and
Ask Jeeves.
Yeah, Ask Jeeves. Everyone had a GeoCities website as well. There's something you have to look up, Tom.
All I'm saying is Google Gladiators Saracen, Saracen, and you'll see what I mean. But anyway, moving on from lookalikes. What's your thoughts, Tom, on him? I mean, he's a former hipster's choice. We were ahead of the game. You know, we saw what he was starting to do at Benfica, heavily linked to Manchester United. I thought Ryan Giggs' comments were quite telling on ITV tonight, where I believe the presenter sort of said, "You'll know all about him, Ryan," and he sort of shrugged his shoulders a bit as if to say, "Yeah, we missed out there."
I think they said he'd been watching him for a year.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. It's almost Arsenal-esque, that kind of transfer, isn't it? Watched him for a year, didn't sign him, but nevertheless, Bayern Munich have. What impresses you most about him?
I think it's the same thing when the quality I said about the penalty. It's his confidence. He just doesn't seem like to realise how young he is compared to some of the players around him, and the way he takes the ball forward and what he does on the ball. I know there's a lot of kids out there who love practicing their skills and stuff, but the way he pulls some of the dribbling techniques that he does off against some of the most experienced players on an international stage is quite incredible. His versatility is very impressive. I mean, he was on the left and on the right, and his goal came from when he was in the middle. He can play across all those midfield attacking 3 positions. And with complete ease, and it's not quite refreshing to see someone so young to be able to take on board that mantle of, yes, Ronaldo's in the team, but it's certainly not been known for having the best quality throughout the sides besides him, and he seems to be the next guy that could step up once the old man has moved on. So, well, I'll call him Ronaldo an old man, but no, he's impressed me a lot. His shot obviously took a deflection for the goal, but he struck it sweetly, and it was definitely going on target anyway. So it'll be interesting to see where he fits into Bayern Munich's side. I think Ian Wright was the one who said that he's the type of guy that once he gets into the squad, he'll nail down that spot, and you won't be able to knock him off it, which will remain to be seen, because you've got the likes of Douglas Costa and Thomas Muller and Goetze and whoever else is going to be in that attacking lineup. But you should see like Ribery and Robben will eventually be moving on, and he could find a spot in that side. And if he does turn out to be the amazing player he is, I think someone said the fee could rise to upwards of 80 million euros. I'm guessing that's a lot of weird clauses and stuff, which include like Ballon d'Or and World Cup wins and Champions League wins and stuff. But with a team like Bayern Munich, there's no doubt that he can go on to achieve those accomplishments, and you might see that fee rise to that high.
Absolutely. Talking to Portugal on Twitter a little while back, apparently some of these clauses are up to 6 million worth of image rights. So there's an interesting fact for you, but because you can see him being a poster boy of certain things, and maybe
$1 million for each half dreadlock.
Yes, and I can imagine him being on the cover of certain video games in Portugal, nevertheless. But Tom mentioned there about obviously his future with Bayern Munich. Do you? We kind of saw a little glimpse of what a young player can do when given the chance in Julian Weigl last year for Dortmund, who was plucked out of obscurity in 1860 Munich, a division below, came in and essentially just played his way straight into Dortmund's team and ended up being a key reason why they were probably okay to let Okay Gundogan move on, although obviously he wanted to move himself. Do you think Sanchez is good enough to play his way into a coach you'll know quite a lot about in Carlo Ancelotti?
Yeah, I don't see why not. The big thing is when you're moving leagues, generally the differences you'll find is the sort of the pace and the physicality between the leagues. But that's two things that he's already got at such a young age. He's already very physically strong. It's having a couple of times tonight, he physically very easily held up the ball, but then sometimes he went down too easy trying to win a free kick when the referee clearly wasn't going to give it. So that side of his game needs to improve, the sort of intelligence, knowing when you can buy a free kick, when you can't, and you know when you can sort of throw a sly elbow into someone's back to nudge him off a ball. But that's all stuff that he'll learn. So I don't think he'll have a problem transitioning into the Bundesliga in that sense. Ancelotti's very good at helping develop talent and bring it through. I think Paul Clement has gone back to work with him now, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he's come back as well, which would definitely be a big help. I know he was helping a lot of the younger guys at Madrid. So I don't see it being an issue. You know, Bayern have brought through a lot of young players. You know, Bernat's been in the team quite a lot. Sebastian Rode, you know, sort of names that
Kimmich.
people, yeah, they're names that people maybe didn't know that much about unless you watched a lot of football from that region. So I don't think he'll have a huge issue coming in. Obviously Coman as well. The interesting thing will be what exact position he will be, because obviously Ancelotti will play different to how Guardiola has done at Munich. So will he be played wide? You know, that kind of thing. Him one side, Coman the other. That could be really, really exciting with Lewandowski through the middle. So that's what I'm most interested to see, what kind of position he takes up there.
It's going to be very interesting to see how good his career goes. Because obviously we've seen many players that have sprung out of nowhere and then drifted away, but I really do think this kid is going to be the real deal. So showed glimpses of it tonight, and I noticed I don't know if you guys saw this when they were doing the huddles at the end of before the penalty shootout. He was visibly sort of clapping on the players. He looked like a leader to me at such a young age. That's always a good sign of mental strength. So hopefully he will achieve what it looks like he has the potential to. Before we leave this game behind and look ahead to tomorrow, I just want to sort of get your feelings on both these sides as a tournament whole. I'll give you a side each. So Tom, I'll give you Portugal. What has impressed you about them, and what has depressed you about them? Is probably a bit harsh, but what have you enjoyed and what have you not enjoyed? And more importantly, what do they need to do to get to a final if they do draw Belgium, for example?
Well, I've not enjoyed watching them. is probably the first thing. I can't remember a game which I particularly enjoyed watching. I mean, even having to watch Austria play them wasn't exactly nice. Obviously, the biggest disappointment has to be Ronaldo scoring just 2 goals, and compared to the amount of chances, if you manage to calculate all of them, is probably not going to be the best goal to shot ratio, and they would have relied on him to get through. But somehow they've got through. So the positive you must have to look at is their ability not to lose matches. So they drew all 3 games in the group stage. They haven't won a game in 90 minutes, and they've had to win in extra time and then in penalties to get to the semi. So I guess you can say resilience is probably a big factor in why they've got through. I mean, they've got leaders on the pitch like Pepe, who a lot of people hate, and I personally don't. I don't like the guy because he's got a lot of nasty traits about him, but he is, in my opinion, one of the best defenders in the world because he performed that tonight with excellent clearances and blocks and interceptions and tackles. He's an excellent defender, and he's key to them defensively. And I'm really not convinced by Rui Patricio, if I'm honest. I mean, the amount of times in the penalty shootout he dived before they'd even taken the shot was easy for the Polish players to guess where they had to shoot. But I'm sure you're baffled by Anthony Lopez isn't playing, and I tweeted about it because I can't work out. Yeah, I can't work out why he's not between the sticks. But I think that going forward, the positive is going to be that they have held their defence reasonably well. I mean, a clean sheet in the last of 16, a clean sheet against Austria, letting one against Iceland, letting awful game against Hungary with letting 3, but that was a bit of a mad game and probably a one-off. So if they get Wales or Belgium in the next round, I think that they have enough quality to get past them, but I think it'll be a decent game, to be honest. But as I said, it is Portugal, so I'll probably be wrong on that as well. So
we shall see if they can sort of scrape their way through another game without actually winning and still end up getting through. But John, same question to you, but with Poland, I mean, what's impressed you, what hasn't, and are they an example of another side that promised a lot and ultimately will look back at tonight and think, oh, we had a real chance there?
I think defensively they were. I mean, everyone knew they were always solid at the back. They've always been a decent team and hard to score against. But it was more the Polish teams of the past were a bit more workmanlike. This team looked just very solid, very well drilled, and the players look of a much better quality, higher quality than they had been before. I thought going forward they were decent in some areas. In particular, Grzycki down the left-hand side was really, really good. The biggest disappointment is just that they didn't get the best out of Lewandowski. I know he hadn't scored for a long time for the national team, but they just didn't use him to his best visibility. He was dropping deep a lot to come and get the ball and win it, and that's fine when he's doing that, but they just didn't get the ball in the box enough to him. They didn't have someone really linking up. Milik was good at times, but I didn't feel like the communication was quite there. It worked here and there, but not enough for me, and it just felt like a waste. I think tonight, neither keeper was really tested that much in the game at all, but I thought Portugal probably just edged it, maybe just deserved it, because I just thought they had the better of the play, and they certainly, with the Ronaldo chances anyway, another day he would have scored at least one of those, so you would have put them through for the win. But yeah, just a bit disappointed that I don't think they used the whole of the squad to the best of its ability.
Yeah, some very fair points, well made. I completely agree. Well, Portugal are through, as we say. It's actually 5-3 on penalty. I think I said 5-4 already, and I gave Poland an extra penalty. God bless them. But they are out. Portugal are through, and they will face the game tomorrow. Winners of the game tomorrow, which is Belgium and Wales. Just get a quick preview from you both. Really, what's your thoughts on what could happen here? Let's go in reverse order. John, I'll start with you. Do you foresee? Do you think this is a game of how easily or how much Wales can get at Belgium, or is it a question of how much can Wales keep out when Belgium attack?
To have a complete cop-out answer, sorry, a bit of both.
It's fine.
The issue that Belgium have got is Jan Vertonghen has been ruled out for injury, and Thomas Vermaelen is now suspended. So they're going to have to juggle that back line. And to be perfectly honest, the Belgian defence hasn't looked the best throughout the tournament. If you completely dominate a game and can keep the ball, that's fine. And they've certainly got the players to do that. But they've turned the ball over quite a lot and then been very easily exposed at times by probably teams of the same ability as Wales, but those teams didn't have Gareth Bale and, to a lesser extent, although still dangerous, Aaron Ramsey in their team. So I'd certainly give Wales a chance. Ashley Williams is back for Wales, which is very big for them. I think you commented on him playing on with that shoulder injury, how stupid it was. It was very silly, but luckily it's worked out and he should be fit to play for them. That's a big win for them. And much like Ronaldo, Bale hasn't really hit the heights. He's got a couple of goals, but he hasn't been superb in a game yet. So if you're a Welsh fan, I suppose you're hoping that Bale performs something like Hazard did for Belgium in the previous game. Again, with Belgium, the whole way through this tournament, we've said how good they are, and it's just a case of if they put the performance in, then they are good enough, I think, to beat nearly all the teams in the tournament. It's just getting that performance out of them every single game.
That's always the hardest part, isn't it? And Tom, from your perspective, obviously you know quite a lot about Mr. Bale and his exploits at Real Madrid. Is this game, when you break it down, going to come down to the two outstanding individuals, i.e. Hazard and Bale, or do you think it could be won by more likely to be a creative force, so sort of De Bruyne against Ramsey, for example?
I actually think it'll be more of a team effort. I think what Wales have surprised a lot of people with is the fact that they have more than just Bale and Ramsey. I think Joe Allen's been very good. I think Gunter's been very good for them as well. And I think they can take that forward into the Belgian game with a lot of confidence that their players won't always need to have to rely on the stars of Bale and Ramsey to push them forwards. In terms of Belgium, obviously they've got issues at the back. Vertonghen's injury means that it's like Denayer, or Drew speculated that Denayer will come in, and Lukaku is it Lukaku's brother or Malou's brother?
Yes,
Jordan Lukaku.
Yeah, he'll come in at left back, it seems, because Vermaelen's obviously suspended as well. So that's obviously an issue, and Bale will love to target down that right side. He naturally plays on the right for Real. I know he plays more of a striker or for Wales, but he will drift to that right hand side and target those guys if they're inexperienced. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on with him. In terms of striking, Wales probably have, with Bale, the better of the two. I mean, Lukaku, as we've a lot of criticism of his consistency. He had a good game against the Irish when he got 2 goals, but other than that, he's not been great. In the last of 16 against Hungary, he didn't have a great game. He didn't have a lot of excellent balls to contend with coming in towards him, but he didn't make any chances for himself either. And I'm not sure if it's possible he probably will start, even though Batshuayi came on and scored. But there's always that option for Belgium off the bench with the likes of Batshuayi and Origi and Benteke as well. So in terms of depth, you'd have to look at, if it goes on and it's still a level score going to later matches, you'd have to fancy Belgium with the depth they can bring on. But if Wales can nick an early goal and then hold it for the rest of the game, Bale did put it as that they are their bogey team. So you never know what could happen. But I'm quite confident that Belgium will come through this.
I'm going to go full Ross here and say that I think Wales are going to win this game. I just have a feeling that those defensive issues might be what undoes Belgium, but obviously it will depend it will depend, if I put my teeth in, how well Wales defend against the Belgian attack. So could be a really good game. So put your money on 0-0.
The one thing, just quickly before we finish, for that game, I'm really interested to see who starts up front for Wales, whether it be Sam Vokes or Hal Robson-Kanu. I'd like to think he starts Kanu, just because the fullbacks of Belgium do push on, and I just think he'll be able to run those channels and exploit the space, because the Belgian midfield has been so lax in protecting the back four throughout this tournament, really, really poor. So I think they're easy to get at. So I hope for Wales' sake he starts that. But there's a lot of players on yellow cards as well that will get a ban, both for Wales and Belgium. So I'd expect some, very, very nice friendly tackles at least at the start, so they don't miss the semis.
Yeah, it could be quite interesting to see how the discipline goes in that game. But it will be interesting. We'll of course be across it tomorrow. We're just switching the team up. We've got Drew and Ross on tomorrow with myself, so we'll be across it. But we won't leave you without picking a hipster of the day today. Really, hipster of the day, or hipster of the game, if you will, because there's only one game tonight. So one name and one name only. I will adjudicate. Are you going to go different or the same, I wonder? Tom, who's your pick of tonight's game?
It's hard to get around Renato Sanches. He was just so confident on the ball and the way he took the game to Poland, and obviously he was involved in the goal with his shot, even though it was a deflection. It's probably the first time I've really seen him properly step up for Portugal this tournament. I was impressed with Pepe as well, as I've mentioned already. Defensively, I thought he was brilliant, but I'll have to go with Renato. Sorry, John.
John?
I can't pick a forward or anything because they weren't great tonight. So I'll go full Italian and pick a defender. I'm going to say Kemal Glick. I thought he was really good tonight. Just an absolute monster. And Monaco have got themselves a very good player.
Yeah, I agree. See, this is tough because they were the two players I had sort of in my head noted down. So I'm going to go with Renato just about on this one, purely because I've got to pick the team that wins. And Kamil Glick's had plenty of praise this tournament on this pod. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Renato Sanches. I do have a bit of a man crush on him, and he is a gladiator. So that gets the nod. Superb. Okay, just before we leave you, if you haven't noticed our Twitter feed, or if you didn't happen to get the very short bonus pod that John and I brought to you the other night, fingers crossed, we believe we have solved the iTunes issue. The lovely Kat who is responsible for our super website and all that you see, and in fact our logo and all sorts. Her and her partner are absolutely critical to this pod, so we thank them very much. And they've managed to get to the bottom of what's causing us some issues. So hopefully your iTunes feeds will be back up to date and everything will keep filtering through as it should. If you do get any problems, please let us know.
I realised that you did the bonus pod when I was bottom of the fantasy table, which was...
Yes. Well, I mean,
that wasn't intentional, but
no.
I have a feeling that I might have slipped after putting I think I've got 4 Polish players in my squad. 3 of them were defenders.
Well, don't count it out yet, John, because I had 4 as well, and I did all right. However, tonight I did have Lewandowski as captain, and he got me 12 points. So
I had Glick as my captain.
Oh dear, that's not going to work well.
Like Ronaldo.
I can tell you Glick got 1 point, Pazdan got 2 points, Milik got 2 points, and Lewandowski got me 12 points tonight. So I'm quite pleased with that. But now I'm going to have to just transfer them all out again. So that didn't really work out so well, did it? But keep across your fantasy football. We'll keep you updated as we progress to the latter stages. But that's it for tonight. As I say, if you do get any problems with the iTunes, you can still get us on our website and indeed through Stitcher and through YouTube, of course. But if there is any problems, do let us know. All right, then. We will leave you in peace then. Thank you very much for tuning in, as always. We shall speak to you after the game tomorrow between Belgium and Wales. And my thanks go to John and to Tom for this evening.
Cheers.
No problem.
We'll be back tomorrow to talk more football. In the meantime, keep your pipe stoked and your satchel clean. And we'll speak to you very soon.
A match winner. Is this the moment? It is. Divock Origi. There and now Pillar, and they now have the breakthrough. Fail. It's a great effort.